and Andy Jankowiak, and we are racing in Talladega. Jake Finch leads him, Tanner Gray on the outside, 32 other drivers ready to go. Andres Perez in the 2, he's one to watch in the second row on the inside.
I talked to Jake this morning. He said he would love to grab this lead and try to control this race from the very start.
The outside lane was really broken up there from the start, Phil. The bottom is the place to be right now. I think it's going to be tough there for the 18 of Tanner Gray to even find a hole.
Yeah, Tony's a little more formed now in that 25 car, Tony Breidinger. See about a car length in between those two cars.
It's a really interesting field because of how the field was set based off points last year. So you've got Greg Van Alst mid-pack, Andy Jankowiak mid-pack, and you got some youngsters, some newbies up front.
A number of the drivers were talking about, they had a very brief practice yesterday. A number of the drivers were talking about their cars wandering around a little bit. They felt maybe the wind had something to do with it. And that was just with 4 or 5 cars at once. Now we have 34 cars in this pack.
And keep in mind, a lot of these drivers don't have a lot of experience here. Yesterday for Jake Finch, it was his first laps on this racetrack, so just trying to find his way around. This is a lot wider racetrack. He said it felt like he could get lost out here on it. It's so big.
Look at that, 3 wide. Jason Kitzmiller in the 97 up top. You know, the impression a lot of these drivers you talk to who've never been here before, they say, it's so wide here. But yet if you're young, you want to stay on the bottom, right? But if you're experienced, you kind of work together. You can move yourself up and try to pass cars on the top.
Yeah, and you mentioned the fact that the field is kind of jumbled because of the format for starting the for the start-finish, or the starting grid. So if you're back in 23rd, you're going to have to do something. You can't just stay in line at the bottom of the racetrack. And right now, Kitzmiller in the 97 is doing a good job moving that line forward.
Riding on board with the 55, or looking out the window of the 12 at the 55 at Gus Dean. That's the Daytona winner. How about that car? Looks like he's been slinging some mud in that thing.
He does a lot of mud slinging with his mud bog car.
What is that, 2,500 horsepower?
2,500 in mud.
So he has a good time. So Jake Finch in a comfortable spot here, just like he was. He went 65 of 84 laps at Daytona like a pro. This is exactly what we looked at for most of the race until the end when it went sideways.
And this is exactly what Jake Finch was hoping to be able to do. Just get a single file line on the bottom and let him control the race. And we see, Trevor, we talked about Tanner Gray starting on the outside of the front row. Really didn't get a good push from behind. Now it's falling back outside of this draft.
Yeah, a lot of time when you're that front car, you're in jeopardy of how well that line forms up behind you. How much help do you get? How much of a push? But, you know, watching these ARCA races, it's kind of like when you watch the duel at Daytona when there's fewer cars and the energy takes longer to build. Right here we see some energy going on though, as we see Amber Balkin squeeze by on the outside of the 0-1. She's been fast. She's been working that outside lane. A lot of times drivers want to get up to the top because that's how you pass. If everybody's right on the bottom, you got to take these runs.
Look at this run that Amber Balkin has right now, just passing 1 car at a time, making up some great ground. Amber's so excited every time. I mean, she's racing full-time this year, but you see her in the garage, she's always just smiling ear to ear. This woman loves racing more than anything, and especially when it comes to super speedway. She's like, I love it. I've dreamt about winning, what that moment would be like. She wants it more than anybody.
And remember, she had